Hi, this is Fidaus and I welcome all of you to my classroom. Today's topic is figures of speech, enhancing language and communication. So, my dear students, what are the figures of speech and what purpose do they serve in English language? Well, figures of speech are the words or phrases that deviate from literal or ordinary language to convey meanings, create vivid imagery, and evoke emotions. Here you have to keep in mind two main ideas. Vivid imagery. What does it mean? Vivid imagery. It means when somebody says to you something, you try to understand it by making a mind picture. This is called imagery. The second is evoke emotions. This is another important feature of language, that when you get the message from somebody, be it written or oral, you react accordingly. So if you react properly, it means you are having emotions. So figures of speech create such emotions in the listeners, in the audience. Got it? Let's move forward. We have some example to understand the use of figures of speech. One way to express something is very simple, ordinary, but an other style of speaking something is with the help of figures of speech. You can understand both of the concepts by comparing the two sentences. For example, it is pleasant today. It means today is very pleasant. It might be sunny and it might be moderate today. If we say the same thing by applying one of the figures of speech, we can say like this: it is as pleasant as a month of May. So it is as pleasant as a month of May is having powerful expression rather than it is said it is pleasant today. So which one is more emotional? Yes, obviously the second one. It is as pleasant as a month of May. Another example: she is a scholar. This is a very simple statement, easy to understand. But if someone says she is a storehouse of knowledge, so it means we are making a mind picture of storehouse of knowledge. It means this statement is more emphatic and more clear. So this is how figures of speech modify a simple statement into a meaningful one. So use of figures of speech: embellish or ornament. Here, two very much important words: embellish or ornament the human expressions. Thus, they infuse style of the speaker and excite emotions of the listeners and readers. My dear students, you know what purpose do the beauty salons serve in our cities? You know, they make up, they enhance the effect of beauty. So, in other words, you can say that in the English language, beauty salons are figures of speech, because whatever you want to say, whatever you want to convey to others is embellished and beautified so that it can leave an impact. I hope you got ready about figures of speech. So let's move forward. The first one is simile. Simile is the first figure of speech, a comparison between two unlike things using like or as. Dear students, when you have two different things and you want to find a common link between the two, it is called a simile. For example, you say, he works like a robot. He is a person. Robot is an other different thing that has no match with the person he. But similarity is working. Both work the same. So it is easier for us to understand how robots work and how the person works. Second example, she thunders like clouds. Thunders like clouds. So we have better idea how clouds thunder. She thunders like clouds. It means they are two entirely different things and we are making a common link. We are comparing closely. So this feature is called simile. And you can identify simile with the two words like or as. The second figure of speech is metaphor. That is more powerful expression. If you want to emphasize your point of view to describe something, you use metaphor. So how metaphors are different from similes? It is no more a comparison. It's readers who have to make the comparison in their minds. For example, we say, he is a lion on the battlefield. So he is a lion. There is no comparison. It's up to us to understand how lions behave and how a person behaves. So he is a lion. Life is a journey. Similes and metaphors serve the same purpose in language, but in similes we compare two things, but in metaphors we have just one thing. Next comes personification, attributing human qualities or characteristics to non-human entities. So personification is basically a technique when you feel that some non-human things, inanimate things, behave like human beings, or in simple words, things behave like human beings. Things share the features and qualities of human beings. It's called personification. So this example will make it more clear. The sun smiled down on us. So sun is not a human. Smile, that is a human quality, human smile. So sun smiled down on us. It means sun is sharing or taking the quality of human beings. So this feature is called personification. Poets use this personification in their poems. Second example is, the wind whispered secrets in my ear. Wind cannot whisper. Again, whispering is human quality. So wind is sharing this human quality. So this feature is called personification. And personification is powerful idea and things become more clear. Next comes alliteration. The repetition of initial consonant sounds in words that are close together is called alliteration. This figure of speech is directly linked with the sound of words. You can say music of word. Here goes an example. Be careful. Look at the example. She sells seashells by the seashore. So one sound is oft repeated. Have you noticed? Yeah. She sells by the seashore. So sound is repeated. So sa is consonant. She sells sa. Seashells, sir. Seashore, sir. So this sir consonant is repeated. It's the initial sound of every word. Another example, fluffy friends frolic in the forest. Have you noticed which consonant sound is repeated? Yeah, that's true. It's f sound. Fluffy friends frolic in the forest. So again, you can see that certain consonant sound is repeated. So this is very beautiful expression and it makes a written expression very musical, very rhythmical. Next comes assonance. Assonance is also related to sound. It increases the music of a sentence. But there's a certain difference between alliteration and assonance. So what is assonance now? The repetition of the vowel sounds, it's not consonant, vowel sounds within words that are close together. Here comes different patterns. You can easily understand the use and effect of assonance. First example is, the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. So isn't it musical? Yeah, it is musical. How? Rain, Spain, stays, mainly, plain. So the first word rain has ra consonant sound. In other words, sa, Spain, p, and tays, t, mainly m, and plain p. So they are different consonant sound. But after this consonant sound, there is the same vowel sound. That is a diphthong a. Rain, pain, stays, mainly, plain. So this feature is called assonance when same vowel sounds are repeated in order to create a musical effect. Another example, the sweet retreat. So here I ask you, which vowel sound is being repeated? Of course, it is longer monophthong e, sweet retreat. So repetition of consonants in the beginning is called alliteration, and repetition of vowel sounds is called. Next comes onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is basically a sound feature. You might have heard different sounds. I mean, being human, we have ears, working ears, and we listen to different sounds daily. But when it comes to written expressions, we try to describe a sound. It may happen in the poems, it may happen in the poetry, it may happen in novels and other prose writings. So when the writer tries to describe sound, it is called onomatopoeia. Words that imitate the sounds they describe. How? Here comes the examples. First one, the firework exploded. Exploded is a sound with a loud boom. So here sound is described, showing intensity of the sound, origin of sound, etc. Second example, the sizzling bacon crackled and popped. Crackled and popped, representing different sounds. So any word in poetry that describes sounds is called onomatopoeia. So these are the easier one which we have just finished. And now let's move on to a more complicated figures of speech. They are at medium level. So let's go through them. Yeah, the first one is hyperbole. Hyperbole. It is used as an exaggeration. The statements which touches the level of disbelief, you can say, or things become fake or impossible. This is called hyperbole. For example, if someone says, I'm so hungry, I could eat a whole elephant. How is it possible for a person to eat an elephant? It's untrue. But in order to create the effect or show the intensity of his hunger, we say, I'm so hungry, I could eat a whole elephant. So eating a whole elephant is untrue, but it is creating an effect. Another example is, this backpack weighs a ton. Backpack cannot have this much weight, you know. It is again an untrue statement, but it is creating an impact. This figure of speech is called hyperbole. Next one is symbolism. It is very much common everywhere. You might have seen when you are on the road, you come across different signs and symbols, you know, like traffic signals. We have different colors that are attached to certain meanings. So we understand that which color means what. So symbolism is very much common in our everyday life. So the use of objects, colors, or other elements represent abstract ideas and concepts. This is called symbolism. For example, the American flag symbolizes freedom and patriotism. So again, every flag has certain meanings. American flag has stars that normally reflects the number of states inside. So these are the meanings which we attach to different objects or colors is called symbolism. Next one is oxymoron. Oxymoron is very interesting figure of speech and it is very much used by stylish writers. It is a combination of two words that are opposite in meaning. For example, open, secret. So both are opposite. Open is not a secret, secret is not open, you know. But these two contrasting words are combined to make certain sense. This technique is called oxymoron. Here are other examples like random order, happy sadness, peaceful war, dark light, and simple complexity. These are the examples of oxymoron. So you might have noticed oxymoron in your textbooks, and you may find some more example from your text while you read next time. Okay. Next one is euphemism. Euphemism is, you can understand, is like a moderator. If things are very much aggressive, things are very much troublesome, you try to cool down the situation. You say some polite words rather than directly saying some hostile words or abusive words. Things get normal. Euphemism is moderator. A mild or indirect word or expression used to avoid offense or unpleasantness is called euphemism. For example, you don't say downsizing. For example, you say downsizing rather than firing employees. If you say firing employees, it gives bad idea. But if you say downsizing, it's rather polite and it ameliorates the situation to some extent. Then you don't say died. It's direct and irritating word, died. But you say gone to a better place. So it is moderator. It is very polite expression. Although situation is same, but you try to avoid bitterness. So this technique is called euphemism. Here goes another example. You don't say poor family. It is again a bad idea to say someone that he belongs to a poor family. Rather, you say low income household. So it is more pleasant. Last but not least, over here, bombing, military operation. You don't use this word because things may get worse otherwise. You say surgical strike. This is polite word, although having the same intensity inside, but it does not let the situation get aggravated. Next comes anaphora. Anaphora is basically a repetition of words or phrases. Figures of speech has certain effects by rearranging, reordering sentence, selecting different kind of words, making comparisons. So all these techniques are used to make your expression more sentimental, more emotional, and more effective. So here comes anaphora. Anaphora is basically repetition of certain words while you speak or a phrase in the beginning of successive clauses or sentences. It happens mostly in speeches, political speeches most of the times when a political leader excites the emotions of the followers, their workers, saying, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing ground, we shall fight in the fields or in the streets. So we shall fight, we shall fight, we shall fight is the repetition of a certain clause. So this enhances the effect on the listeners. Kind of figure of speech is called anaphora. Got it? Well, antithesis. Antithesis is another figure of speech that is very much interesting. Juxtaposition of two contrasting ideas or words to highlight their difference. How does it work? It works in a way that in the same sentence, we say two contrasting things, although both clauses convey the same idea. For example, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. In the same sentence, we discuss both sides, positive and negative. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. He is a kind person, he is a cruel person. Social media has a positive impact, social media has a negative impact. So when you discuss both the sides in the same sentence, positive or negative, this style, this figure of speech is called antithesis. I hope it can easily be learned, isn't it? Finally, my dear students, I have more complex figures of speech for you. Here comes antimatably. Antimatably is repetition of words or phrases in reverse order. This is a remarkable thing. Reverse order, often to create a sense of balance, symmetry, or contrast. For example, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So this is the alteration of first order, and the second part is reverse of it. I know what I like, and I like what I know. It's again musical, it is again convincing, it's again very beautiful expression when you go reverse in the same statement. Next comes metonymy. Metonymy is substituting a word or a phrase. Substituting a word means you create a word that means something else, that represents some other idea or some other object. For example, if you say the White House announced a new policy. Here, White House is a word for America. American government, American parliament has new policy. So White House represents the whole country's government. The pen is mightier than the sword. The pen is mightier. Pen is an object with which we write something. Sword is a weapon. So pen represents knowledge and sword represents battles. So this representation of pen and sword is called metonymy. You can also use different symbols to represent different ideas. Another example, Wall Street plummeted today. It means the stock exchange of Wall Street. So here Wall Street represents the stock exchange went down today. It was a bad day for Wall Street stock exchange. That's end of today's lecture. But before we wind up the class, I have a quiz for you. Look, the first question, the city is a beast that swallows you whole. Options are metaphor, simile, personification, or hyperbole. So, answer is highlighted for you. City is a beast. I mean, you are not making a comparison between a city or a beast. You're directly saying city, a beast. So that's why it is direct. It is not a comparison. It's metaphor. Next one. We shall fight for freedom. We shall fight for justice. We shall fight for equality. So guess what could be the right answer? Option A, anaphora, B, apostrophe, C, alliteration, D, assonance. So definitely as highlighted, alpha option, anaphora is the answer. Why? Because the idea is repeated. Certain phrase or clause is repeated. We shall fight, and we shall fight. So this style is called anaphora. Next one is the deafening silence was oppressive. Deafening silence. You know, both are contrasting words. So it is oxymoron. Oxymoron combines two opposite words to convey a certain sense. It's not a metaphor, it's not a simile, it's not personification. And other question is, the company is undergoing restructuring. You can think that company is under a cloud. Company is plummeted. But to make the situation less worse, you say company is undergoing restructuring. It is a polite expression. It avoids bad situation. So what is it? As highlighted, it's called euphemism. Now, without answer key, now use your previous lecture and try to sort them out by yourself. Questions are highlighted. I hope you will get the idea better now. Thank you very much for joining my class.